Hello and welcome to another episode of the Halftime Podcast, brought to you by HalfTimeCuppa.com. It's certainly been a long time, but we are back with a bang. Today we are joined by the fantastic Charlie Pumphrey. Hello, Charlie. How are you?
Hello, Danny. Thanks for having me back.
No, great to be back. I know we seem to do a couple of like 3 week stints, and then we go on like a mini break. And then we come back, but it's always good to have you back here alongside me. So thank you very much, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Danny. We're very much the... I don't know who to compare us to in the Premier League, but I guess we can get to that. Which team we'd most resemble.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that. Okay. Anyway, moving on then. Let's talk about today's topic. We are going to talk about some of the Premier League teams. Specifically, we're going to look at some of the stuff that's happened since the last sort of podcast and the opening few weeks of the season. We're going to share our views, but of course, you guys listening in, you are welcome to share yours too to us via Twitter at HalfTime_Cuppa. And feel free to just, if you're watching on YouTube, just leave it in the comment section as well. Okay, Charlie, where should we start?
All right, I think we're going to start where everyone starts, the bottom, I think, the Premier League. And I think there's a very obvious candidate to start with. I think we're going to have to start with Watford, a team that are yet to win and have a negative 16 goal difference as of 7 games in. We're speaking in between the weekend fixtures, so there's a couple of teams that are yet to play, but they're only on 2 points, so they're not going to move. But I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are, Danny, on how Watford have started the season. I mean, I watched them. I've only seen them play once, which was against us against Brighton on the first day of the season. And
how were they that day?
They were not very good at all. And I mean, having seen the quality of teams you've played since, and having watched a few other Premier League games, I really worry about them. And I think every season there's always one team that surprises everyone with how slow they start, and sometimes they get better and sometimes they really don't.
Yeah.
And Watford just look like a team that have no identity whatsoever. That really do lack not just leadership, but lack style, lack some sort of... Are they going to be tough and rugged? Are they going to be a little bit more adventurous? They seem to be caught in that middle ground. I don't know what your thoughts on it, or if you've seen them play at all this season.
I've seen little bits, more so, I mean, obviously like match and day highlights and stuff like that. But, so I'm not the Watford pundit in that sense. But I do agree. I agree with the point you make about them sort of losing an identity. I personally feel like Watford are sort of turning into sort of what Stoke were, in the sense that they have lost their identity, and I don't really know what they are now. Their signings on paper, if you have a look, like, you know, this is just my opinion in particular, but
yeah.
The signings they made in terms of like the Welbecks, like Danny Welbeck, I mean, that's the type of signing I could quite easily see going to like an Everton or
I think
top 10 club.
Everyone expects him to end up at Everton, I think, given the obvious links between ownership there and the players that have moved. I mean, since that point, Iwobi.
Of course, Iwobi. But so in that sense, it's kind of surprising, really, when you look at that. If you take that signing in isolation, why he's ended up there, and you know, they've got a great squad in terms of Delafeu. I can't even say his name.
Delafeu.
Who's obviously a quality player, and you know, I just feel they've lost their way a little bit. I feel what you're saying is right in terms of they could be one of those teams that just sort of start slow and then grow into the season. I really worry. I mean, the thing is they've gambled now with a new manager.
New with parentheses.
Yeah, new manager who was their previous manager. Like, they've already gambled on that, like early doors. My worry is, in that sense, if I'm someone who's in the Watford hierarchy, what other cards have you got left to play?
Yeah, definitely. I think the only thing that I would say is that obviously a lot of this is probably being coloured by the last 2 weeks. I mean, you look at their game against Arsenal a couple of weeks ago where they came back from where they were 2-0 down, I think, in that game. And they came back and really should have beaten Arsenal that day. But then obviously there's the result at the Etihad, which I think will live long in infamy with both sets of fans.
Yeah.
Obviously 8-0 is no result anyone ever wants. But then, I don't know, with Watford, it's a very difficult one. I think someone like Danny Welbeck is more of a risk, necessarily. I mean, given his injury record and given that really he's not been the biggest fish in the pond that he was in specifically. I know that's a term, a cliche that's often used, of being a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond. And I worry that with someone like Welbeck, he's become so used to playing with such high-quality players at Arsenal that he's now being asked to move across. And no offence to any of the Watford players, they have some really good technical players. Like you said, Deulofeu, Pereira. There's some real quality in that side. But I think defensively is where they really struggle. I mean, you look at their record in the league this year. They've conceded 16 goals in 7 games. That's more than 2 a game. Obviously, the Man City game does weigh somewhat.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I think what we really need here is a Watford perspective on this. And if anyone's listening and is a Watford fan and wants to give their perspective, hit us up on Twitter at HalfTime_Cuppa. Shallow plug. And,
send your abuse.
Send your abuse, yeah. Target it to at Danny Cook. I don't think that's your at, so I think you're safe.
Well, I mean, you're missing a bit, but yeah, carry on.
That's fine, yeah, that's fine. I've deliberately missed a bit, Danny. I've put you into witness protection.
Good man.
But the thing is, you look at Watford's upcoming games as well, looking at them now quickly, just to really, I think we're going to move on shortly. You look at their next few games, they've got Sheffield United at home next, a team who, having seen them play today against Liverpool and being really unlucky not to get anything out of that game, I think they'll really struggle against a really well organised, quite a vibrant side in Sheffield United. And then they've got Tottenham away, Bournemouth at home is a probably more winnable game after that. But I do worry about them because they're going to be seen as a side that can be picked on now. They are going to be seen as a side that can be beaten. I mean, you look at the range of teams they've lost to so far, including Brighton, who obviously haven't been fantastic this season. And then they've dropped points today against Wolves away from home. It's a difficult game because Wolves are quite a good side, but they've had quite a poor season themselves. I think we may well come on to them later on.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's getting to the point now where Watford, obviously they've made the change, they've rolled the dice, like you say. I mean, where do they go from here? We don't see many teams that change twice in a season.
Well, Villa did it before, didn't they? And they ended up relegated off the back of it. So, yeah, I don't know where they go from here. Really, it will be interesting to see.
Definitely. And I think we'll be talking about them some more. I think they'll be.
Yeah, certainly. Before we move on, though, Yamat, I saw he obviously conceded or scored an own goal.
Net. Yeah.
Just off the top of my head, I'm sure I've seen him do that a few times this season. I'm sure he must be up there with the own goal, top goal scoring charts. I don't
know. We need to pop a little graphic up on screen now just to see.
Maybe.
Although I don't make too much work for myself, so let's not get too.
As if this is where. In edit, we've realised that he's only done it once.
It's only once.
So we're going
to flash up on the screen that says, "Don't listen. Don't listen at this point." Danny's mate. It's one of Danny's spurious facts.
Okay, so let's move on then. Let's talk about. Should we go with their opposition today? Should we go with Wolves?
Yeah,
I think
it's a good place to move on.
Yeah, okay. So Wolves. Do you want to kick us off on this one?
Yeah, I think I probably will, and I think I'm going to start really with what everyone's talking about. A club like Wolves or like Burnley last season, or in years gone, there have been several sides that have had the same problem as them, and it's Europe, and they had a fantastic season last year. But I think what was their real issue this year has been a lack of consistency. Has been a lack of even just a consistency in the starting 11. You look last season. Every week it was the same 11. You could pick their team. Obviously injuries, exception there. But if you could basically pick their team 48, 72 hours before kickoff. You knew who was going to play. He was going to play the same 11. Whereas this year, he's obviously Nuno, I forget his name, and Wolves have added quite a few bodies actually this summer. and it seems to have augmented the side somewhat. And he's moving around with tactic. He's playing different players in different positions now. I mean, Adama Traore has been played up front recently.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're really moving the team, moving them around, and it works sometimes. I mean, today it's obviously worked, and they've got the result. But I mean, you look at some of the players that have come in. A few of them have really struggled to make an impact. I mean, someone like Cutrone, Patrick Cutrone, has really struggled to make an impact so far. I mean, we're only a month into the season, so he could go on and score 20 goals this year, and I'd look like a massive numpty. In which case, that'd be fun. I'm not telling you my at in that case. And then
I'll just send it my way instead.
Yeah, at Danny Cook. It may not be his at, but it's fine. But then you look, I mean, the players from there's a lot of rotation, and I think that's what's really changing for them, is that they aren't playing the same 11 each week. Whether it's enforced, whether he wants to change it. I don't know what your thoughts are, but that's my perspective, is a lack of consistency both in selection and in quality of player.
Yeah, I would agree. I think as a neutral looking in, to be honest, I wouldn't be, and this is going to sound stupid in that sense, if they were to get relegated, but I really wouldn't be that worried if I'm a Wolves fan right now, because they should enjoy this season in the Europa League. They're obviously there on merit, and you know they're doing pretty well so far anyway. So I think they should just enjoy this season for what it is. I think domestically in the league they're not going to be as successful as they were last year. That goes without saying, really. But I don't think they're going to be in trouble. Yeah, I feel like people are looking into this a bit too much. I think there's worse teams in this league than Wolves. Like they're purely on like the players they've got as well. They've got good enough players, and you know, say if they were to get knocked out of the Europa League before Christmas, like they've got the whole second half of that season or the season to fix things, and I think they will. I don't know how you would manage it if you was a coach, Charlie, in terms of if you was the Wolves, if you was Nuno, would you be more tempted to effectively have two different starting 11s? Or would you just try and keep that consistency?
I think the issue is that what Nuno has done has kind of been the playbook for how the bigger teams have managed Europe. In so much as, I mean, you look at Liverpool, you look at Man City, they have squads where they can interchange certain roles, and that there are certain players that are just unavoidable and need to be in the squad. I mean, players like Willy Bolly have played a lot of minutes this season. I mean, Leander Dendoncker has stepped in and played a lot of minutes. A few more than last year. And then João Moutinho, I think for me it's keeping that core in place. I think that's what Nuno's tried to do, and unfortunately it's just the way it goes with these teams going into Europe for the first time. He said today after the game, actually, I'm just reading, is that they're stepping up now from going in the Championship where they would play a lot of games and a lot of minutes, and they've brought a lot of players in the Premier League. They had a season where they didn't play as much football. Mathematically they played less minutes. And now they're having to adjust again, and it is a factor. It's impossible to ask someone to play 38 games, or I mean, including cup games, maybe 40, 42 games, and then go, okay, you need to play. I mean, they've played a lot of qualifiers as well, which really, I think, really does damage a side. I mean, you look at Burnley didn't even make it into the Europa League last season. That had a marked effect on their team.
Yeah,
and I think it's just managing their way through to a point, like you say, when you get towards the end of the year, the calendar year. It will start to clear up again. It's just the way the early season is for teams that are going through the Europa League. I feel like you say Wolves would be fine. The only issue I would say is I'd be worried about a little bit of regression, especially when you say about the quality they have in their squad. How long are you going to be able to be a mid-table team and keep someone like Raul Jimenez, or keep someone like Johnny Otto?
Yeah, I mean that's a fair comment. I feel like this season. Like because of the progress they've made in the Europa League, anyway. Like I mean, you were just mentioning Burnley. Burnley obviously didn't get nowhere near as far. So in that sense, they have had a bit of a European journey, and I feel like regardless, this season will be like stamped as this European adventure for Wolves. But
if you're a player, Danny, are you not worried that if they finish, not necessarily where they are now, they're going to have a better end of the season. Say they finish 8th or 9th. Is that good enough if you're a player like Raul Jimenez and you've got potential to go to I mean, there will be Champions League teams. If he performs like he did last season, or Diogo Jota, if he plays like he played last season, there will be Ruben Neves, there will be teams that will say,
yeah,
look.
I mean, I would expect that. I think, there'd always be interest there because they are good quality players. I just feel like if it was over a next couple of seasons where they just stayed the same, they stayed mid-table or something like that, and they regressed, then fine, fair enough. But I feel like this season, because it is their first in European football, I feel like it's going to be a free hit, regardless of what happens. But next season they have to step it up next season, whether that be purely domestically or whatever they've got, if they're in Europe again or if they're in obviously cup competitions as well. They've got to make clear steps and clear progress next season.
No, I think it's a good point. I think it's probably a good place to leave the Wolves, and I don't know where you want to move to next. What sort of team you want to move to next?
Should we go to? Let's go to Brighton. Let's do Brighton next.
Oh, yeah.
Does that sound good? Yeah, got him.
Well,
kick us off.
Sounds good. All right, here we go. Roll the sleeves up. This can be fun. It's been a complicated season so far because performances have been good, results have not been. I mean, you look where we are now, 6 points after 7 games. It's not an awful start to the season. I mean, Graham Potter has said himself that he knew we were going to be in this sort of situation, which I think is fair. I think Brighton fans are not too fickle and would say, oh no, we should be mid-table. But the worry is the performances, and the worry is, not the performances, the worry is the results. And the way I mean, today against Chelsea, I think a lot of teams in the bottom half would, even though Chelsea aren't the same Chelsea they were 24 months ago, I think a lot of teams would say, okay, we'll go to Stamford Bridge, we'll try and play, and we'll try and get a result. I mean, today's game, they seem to be unlucky. They seem to really be a case of Chelsea took their chances when they did, and they could have maybe had more, but the goals they had were potentially lucky. It's just one of those games where there's positives to be taken, but there's also things that we can do better. Yeah. Losing to it, there's always things you can do better. I think the game that really was a real issue has been the home form as well. And we haven't won at home for a long time. If you include last season, Brighton haven't won in a long time at home, and that form is really worrying.
Who have you had this at home?
So this is the thing. We have had the sort of teams that you'd want to take points from. We've had West Ham, we've had Southampton, and we've had Burnley. 3 sides, solid sides, Premier League established, but 3 teams that you want to be taking points from if you are serious about staying in the league and really making a fist of it. And we've taken, collectively from those games, we've taken 2 points from those games. And that's the real worry, is that actually, where are the points going to come from if you can't beat the teams around you? And there's real positives. I think you look at the players that have come in. I think Adam Webster has made a real stamp on the team and has managed to come in and really dethrone Shane Duffy as a first choice centre-back. With the move to free, I mean, it's been a really interesting move. You look at some of the young players that are coming through. I think it's really good. I think the issue that we've had is that it's been very different now. It's been a real culture shock, I think, for some of those players. You look at players like Lewis Dunk now, and he's playing a very different role now to the one he was playing last year, where he's playing as that sort of sweeper in the middle of a free and playing much deeper than the other 2 centre-backs.
Yeah.
And he's being asked to play something very different, and I think Dale Stevens is being asked to play something slightly different to last season. I mean, you look at Martin Montoya at right back has actually had I think he's had a really good start to the season. Maybe defensively there are questions, but going forward he's looked a whole different player because he's being released. I think the young players that have come in, I was just about to jump onto. You look at Steven Alzate that came in today. I don't know if that's exactly how you pronounce his name. I've barely ever heard his name actually said aloud. He's come in and looked really good, although a couple of bookings for a booking for diving, and then last week against Newcastle also diving. He's looked really good on the ball though. He's looked really technically proficient. And then Aaron Connolly, I think, is the one. If you ask Brighton fans right now, he's the one that we're really hanging our hat on at the moment and hoping that he comes in. He nearly scored last week against Newcastle. Looked really positive and bright. didn't really have much of an impact today against Chelsea. And that it's worrying because we let Florian Andone go, and I don't think you'll ever see him in a Brighton shirt again, given his comments saying he didn't want to be at the club anymore. And letting Jurgen Locadia go, we're putting a lot of reliance on youth, which I know Graham Potter's really about and has done a lot, whether it be at Ostersunds or Swansea. And that it's going to be interesting because the performances, like I say, to really circle back, the performances have been good, but the results just haven't been there. And I think we'll stick with Graham Potter. I think we are trying to change as a club away from what Chris Hughton turned us into, and the results really left him. But it's really, I'd be interested to get your sort of outsider's opinion on whether you've seen much of us or what sort of your impression has been of us so far.
Yeah, likewise. I've not really seen too much. Obviously, just little bits here and there on match and day. I did watch the game you had against Watford. Obviously, to see Neil Maupay just do the business. How have you found him so far?
He's been good. The only worry for him is that he's been very isolated in the games that he's played. That we haven't been getting up and around him enough. And when he gets service, I mean, against Burnley, the goal he scored there was really good. A really good finish. But he's been really good. Really positive. I think he'll score goals. Definitely. I think he'll be the man to replace Glenn Murray.
Good. The real thing, for me anyway, about Brighton is I think you've got a really good coach in Graham Potter. Someone who, to be honest, like when I watched him last year with Swansea, and really re-established and re-identified what Swansea were, and I think given time, it may be the end of the season by the time he gets it fully in place. But I think once he actually gets his influence and identity on this team that you've got, I think you'll be a good side. You'll be a very good side, and I think you'll be a Premier League side that's you was talking about, like the likes of Burnley, Southampton, West Ham. I think you'll be one of those if you stick by him and support him and back him. He's got to obviously have the backing to find the players. But yeah, I think I personally wouldn't be too worried. Again, I think you'll be in and around it, like probably Norwich and a couple others. But I really hope you're safe. I really hope you stay up.
I'd be far more excited for us to stay up with this style of football than necessarily Chris Hughton's last season, which I think is indicative of a lot of Brighton fans.
Yeah, and put it this way, like this is the thing that certain people don't really understand is obviously you've experienced a bit of the Chris Hughton defensive shut up shop performance, which is great. You know, if it grinds out results, it's fine. But the thing is, as a fan, you want your team to go for it and to score goals. And I feel like, you know, say worst comes to worst, you were to get relegated, right? I seriously hope you'd stick by Graham Potter and you'd, again, just stay with the project. Because I think, actually, you know, if you were to go down, even then, like, you'd be so much more better suited for it because you've got a player that wants to play attacking, expansive football. Compared to if you'd have kept hold of Hughton and gone down with him, suddenly you're going to try and dominate teams with a style, like with a manager whose style was to shut up shop.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would say, and the one thing that's come across literally in the games that we've had, so it may just be a correlation rather than something that is actually long term. Some of his substitutions have been a little questionable. Okay. I mean, today, I don't know if there was a knock, but he brought Yves Bissouma off at half-time, and he brought on Gaëtan Bong, which are two very different players, and it felt like the style changed. And I worry that those sort of decisions are stuff that it's going to go either way. You've got to make a decision. I'd rather have a manager that is going to be proactive. I mean, we've seen that so far. He's proactive in a lot of his substitutions, but a few of the decisions have been maybe questionable. Yeah. But that is the only consideration I'd have so far. I'm happy for Graham Potter to be in charge, full stop. He's still got the support. But I think, okay, moving on from that, moving from one of our teams to, I think the other now is probably the best time to do that.
Sure.
Norwich City. A mixed bag so far. 6 points, same as Brighton after 7 games. Not a great result today as well. I think you've probably... I don't know if you're going to agree with that.
Oh, sorry? Not a great...
a great result today.
No, definitely not. But yeah, there's...
A 2-0 loss.
I feel...
Let's get your opinion.
Yeah, so I feel like... okay, the start of the season's been good on the whole. I mean, prior to today and probably last week, so off the back of obviously the Man City result, if you'd have said we'd be outside the bottom 3, we wouldn't be hideously behind everyone in terms of points, because of our tough... I mean, we had a really tough start, really, on paper. Liverpool, Chelsea and Man City. 3 obviously top teams. And, I mean, Liverpool on the opening day is, to some people, may seem quite attractive, but to us, as a club, is not great given our record. Yeah, I mean, it's like he's playing one of your bogey teams on the opening day, and you're already basically bottom of the league, sort of thing. So I was concerned it would spiral out of control if the result was bad. But yeah, I you know what, I feel like our main concern with everything at the moment in terms of Norwich is injuries and squad depth. I mean, this is the thing. I messaged my mate, who's a Crystal Palace fan. I messaged him 2 days ago, prior to this game, when I heard that Tim Krul was injured. He's out to the next international break. Ralph Farman was a huge doubt and was supposedly injured for this game. And
I mean, went off in the 22nd minute.
Yeah, I mean, he did that. I was surprised he started, to be honest. But anyway, and our third choice is Michael McGovern, who, fair play, seems nice enough, but and has done great. I will say has done great stuff for Northern Ireland, and in the past has been good. But he's not a Premier League goalkeeper. He really isn't anymore. So yeah, it. As soon as I heard that, I sent a message to him. I said, it's going to be easy 3 points. You're going to get. I tipped over 2.5 goals, but I mean, two goals it was, but it could have quite easily been more with McGovern. But yeah, the thing is, we're struggling at the moment defensively because of these injuries we've got. I think, I mean, thank God, Godfrey, touch wood, is decent at the moment and is okay.
He's looked really good,
health-wise. I mean, we've been missing Tim Closer. We've been missing Christoph Zimmermann, who, by the way, those two are, when they actually are fit, and when they get a good run of games, they are amazing defenders, amazing centre backs. Hanley, I think, I don't know if he's actually back now, because I know he was injured. So we had Amadou in defence as well. I just don't know at the moment. There's a lot of chop and changes in that back four, and I just feel like that's killing us at the moment. I mean, I'm looking today. I've got, is it Jamal Lewis, who's actually, I don't know if you heard, he's supposedly broken his elbow.
Yes, that's a bad injury.
So I mean, that's another one. We've got Amadou played in defence today, but he's a defensive
midfielder, trade.
By trade. Max Aarons is doing okay. He's just come back from injury. Sam Byram, but I mean, we're short on defenders, really. We're short on any kind of options.
I think this comes back a little bit to our pre-season prediction episode, which will be down in the description if I remember to put it there. Where I think me and Jake, I believe, were making the case that we thought Norwich maybe didn't improve enough or bring in enough bodies potentially to really deal with the season. But I mean, even then, to see the amount, I mean, the Man City game, it said you had 11 players out.
Yeah.
And the result there is the result there, which I'm sure if you've been living under a rock, Norwich won that game.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Incredible.
An unbelievable game of football, and really Norwich deserved to win that game. Like, properly. Sometimes teams nick it, but to have that level of injury and to still be where you are in the league, I think is tremendous so far. I think it's going to really now, these next 4 or 5 games that you have, I'm just looking now to see who you've got.
I mean, we've got teams around us, really. We've got Villa, I think, pretty soon. We've got, I think, Arsenal's on the horizon.
Yeah, you've got Villa at home next. Then you've got Bournemouth away. Man United at home, who really are a team around you. And then the 2nd of November, you're going to lose because you're at home to Brighton. So you're away at Brighton. Sorry, you're away at Brighton.
Yeah, I mean, so you look at those fixtures and you go, realistically, compared to the start we've had, we should on paper be looking to try and pick up points. But given the injuries and all this, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But yeah, like you say, I think it's only a positive that they are where they are now, and they're not hideously cut away from things, despite all the problems. Yeah.
I think a lot of people would have tipped you to be in that position. You and Sheffield United, who I mean, we may come on to time dependent.
We'll get up to Sheffield United, but yeah,
it's people would have. I think people would have tipped you to be a bit lower than you are. I think 6 points is a really good haul from your first 7 games. If you can average a point a game, I mean, you're around where you need to be.
Yeah,
and I think that's what a lot of teams would say. I think Newcastle and Aston Villa would probably give to be in your situation right now.
True.
Until they win, definitely. Well, until they get points, yeah.
But I mean, all of that aside, as long as they stick to their style, I know it's naive to some people, and I understand that. And look, we got battered by playing Liverpool like that. But I would, going back to what I was talking about with Brighton, I would much rather just see my team just have a go and just play some nice football. And if we get relegated, we get relegated. It's fine, because
170 million pounds is fantastic for anyone.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine because the club is set up so that if it were to go down, it's not going to die overnight. It's still going to be running and it's still going to be operating. So yeah, I'm happy with them. Anyway, let's move on to Sheffield United now. The final team in this sort of lower end section, bar probably Manchester United.
But I mean, we need more time and probably some alcohol to talk about Man United.
That's a separate occasion. Yeah, go on then. Let's fire away with Sheffield United then.
So I don't know if you. I mean, I'm going to jump in. I've jumped over your head here.
Oh, good.
Having watched their game today against Liverpool, Sheffield United fans have nothing to worry about this season. Absolutely nothing. This team is so well drilled. They fight for each other. They made Liverpool look really average, like as average as I've seen them be for a long time. And that wasn't because of their level of play, it was because of Sheffield United. The fans were right behind them. I mean, Chris Wilder is clearly... I mean, he's a local boy, played for the club. He's got it in his veins that he knows what it takes there. He knows what the fans demand. And he's actually, by the looks of it, he's got some really good players there. He's got some great technical players. I mean, today, the players that stood out for me, John Fleck in the middle, had a really good game. Really technically good player. Sort of player that could be playing for a bigger team. I mean, you look for that starting 11, they've got a lot of quality for players that actually haven't played a lot of Premier League minutes between them. I mean, the two up front today, Ollie McBurney ran himself into the ground. He really put himself about. And then you've got Callum Robinson as well. He looked like he had a couple of chances. I mean, he could have done better with one or two of them. But that was the difference. They made Liverpool look really average. And I mean, you look at the stats for today. Liverpool had more possession, but I mean, they would 12 shots against Liverpool and almost the same as them. More corners. They really did. They put the pressure on a team with real quality. It was a good team. And I like what they're trying to do. I mean, overlapping centre-backs is something I love. I think that's fantastic to see. And they are a team, actually, that were prepared to have a go. And I think that's something we can, going back to what you said about Norwich, we can say that about all 3 of the teams that have come up this season, including Villa. They've all kind of had a go with differing levels of success. I mean, Villa.
And different styles to some extent.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, sorry to jump in.
No, please jump in.
I completely agree with what you're saying. Like Sheffield United, in terms of a place to go, like their home form is going to keep them up. I can see it. I can 100% see it because, yeah, you're right. The fans are well behind the squad and Chris Wilder, and you know what? They're going to be a really tough team to break down and beat, and you saw that today. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to see it, but you know, it's something that in reflection, I kind of expected. I kind of expected Sheffield United to be tough at home. It's what they get away from home will be the bonus. But yeah, I mean, on showing so far, I think they'll be fine. I mean, put it this way, they're going to be in the mix, but they're no different to any of 4 or 5 other teams that could all go down. So for me, like, they're not the worst team. Like, I wouldn't say they're definite relegation candidates right now. I don't know what you think.
No, definitely not. I think, to be honest, I don't think there's an awful lot more to say about Sheffield United other than they are spectacularly well drilled. They know how to be effective. They play a style that we haven't really seen before, coming up and playing with that 3 at the back. And play the way they play with that 3 at the back, and I think they'll be fine. I don't think there's an awful lot more to say.
Yeah,
but I'll be watching on with intrigue because they've been playing really well, and looking forward to when they come to the Amex. Definitely.
Yeah, good stuff. Right, should we wrap that one up there? Does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. So yeah, let us know your thoughts. If you're listening in, let us know your thoughts on any of the clubs we've discussed, and any others. If you want to talk about Man United, then talk about Man United. Why not? We will certainly be covering some of the other clubs and some of the other talking points. I'm sure there's probably a VAR podcast we've got to do at some point as well. So there's going to be lots of stuff. So any ideas you guys have, please send them in. It'd be good to hear them. Charlie, anything I missed there?
I don't think so. I think that's pretty much. I think there's a whole other discussion to be had. I think whether it's VAR, whether it's whether it is Man United, there's a big conversation to have there.
So we'll hopefully get a few more consecutive ones out now. We'll be sort of back in the swing of things. Okay, perfect. So Charlie, thank you very much. What's your Twitter handle for anyone who wants to send abuse?
God, my Twitter handle for anyone that's not. Who have I annoyed today? God, probably loads of people.
Loads of people.
I mean, if you want to abuse me, the only rule is you follow me first. Casual plug. At Charlie Pumphrey on Twitter. That's where you can find me, and I'll be talking basically just about Brighton, because I love a good whinge. Danny, where can we find you? Where can we find you on Twitter?
You can...
Other than witness protection.
Don't tweet that often. It's at Danny Cook 1996. I don't really tweet that often.
Danny, plug any platform you want. HalfTimeCuppa may be predominantly on Twitter, but you don't have to be, Danny.
I mean, we can plug HalfTimeCuppa Twitter as well. So halftime_cuppa. Make sure you find us on Twitter and send us your thoughts as well. I've got no other social media outlets to plug.
You're not on it. We're not going to plug your Instagram or your MySpace.
No Snapchat. No Snapchat today. Yeah, I know.
Can we get an announce, Danny, on whether we'll be having a HalfTimeCuppa MySpace page? Because there's a strong proportion of our audience that really don't care, but we'll listen to this anyway.
Or a Reddit or a
Reddit. We could have a subreddit. Friends Reunited. That's good. I like that.
Bring out Bebo. We can get Bebo back.
Bebo, yeah, get that on the go. Maybe we can be the people to bring Bebo back. Let's
make it happen.
Get it back. Let's make it happen, guys. Come on, get it going.
Hashtag make Bebo great again.
Hashtag it, boys.
Okay, well, on that note, as I say, thank you very much, Charlie. Thank you very much for those listening in. You feel free to catch up on any of the other podcasts. I'm sure Charlie will chuck some links in the description below, or
Absolutely.
Just click around on our YouTube channel, or if you're on our website, just have a scroll around and you'll find somewhere in a very vague way, but you'll find content. We've got loads on there.
Definitely hope so.
Yep, and the website halftimecuppa.com. Okay, well, thank you very much. You've been listening to another episode of the Halftime Podcast, and until next time, take care and goodbye.
Goodbye.